today is the 27th day of relaxing year 26, and I have heard that there's like a new installment to the Void Within plot, so I am very excited to check that out on, I guess, on video and give my reactions. So first of all, we have Fiora, and I think that is, I cannot remember his name, but I think he is for like the Coincidence Daily. Fiora says, "A council of this magnitude is unprecedented, but we have an urgent matter to attend to. There is more to this than just a rift opening in our sky." King Altador, as King Skarl here can attest, the widespread reports of shopkeepers turning irreversibly gray and losing motivation to maintain their shops have escalated, now leaving an entire land devoid of color, which would be, I believe, Meridell from the first plot comic. King Skarl, oh, he looks so sad. He looks so sad there. All of Meridell turned gray overnight. Even my top soldiers, Jaren and Tor, had their strength so sapped from their grayification they could barely lift a sword. Okay, Tor, I think, is from The Darkest Fairy. I think that was like a video game. I myself can hardly eat these days. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. That's terrible, because he is known to be like, he is known to be very gluttonous. Like, he is known for like being very, very much so eating all the time. So he says, I myself can hardly eat these days, and none of the hundreds of paintbrushes I tried could change me. Oh wow, that must be causing, I wonder if that's causing paintbrush inflation. Like, yeah, I don't think that, like, how do I put this? I don't think that this, like, essentially fictional non-player character is buying up paintbrushes from user shops, but I'm like, if he actually was buying hundreds of paintbrushes, that would cause inflation. And that is Queen Amira. I thought she was Princess Amira. Okay, so she's Queen Amira. She is from, I think, the Lost Desert plot, but that was before my time. Are you why those things are so expensive? Emperor Yoon, I think he's Shanku's leader. A color that can't be changed? That's unheard of. Queen Nabile. Oh, she is the Queen of Qasala, I think. I think it's Qasala. She, I think, married Jazan and broke some sort of curse. And the funny thing is, like, you're not supposed... For many, many years, you were not supposed to mention, like, romance at all on Neopets, but they literally had, like, a plot where two of the characters got married. Okay, Nabile says, especially one that debilitates the Neopet after they are painted. Could this gray color we're dealing with be imbued with some type of magic? And then King Hagan says, these covert gray attacks started shortly before that hole in the sky appeared. Surely they are connected. And King Hagan is supposed to be, like, he's the king of Brightvale. I think he is Skarl's brother or something. But Hagan is supposed to be very, like, knowledgeable. He's supposed to be a very wise and enlightened king. And King Kelpbeard is, I believe, the king of Maraqua. Sounds to me like someone is laying the groundwork for an invasion. And I think, didn't they get invaded by Croc Island or pirates or something at one point? I think that would have been, like, that was before my time though, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details there. King Jazan, we should prepare for that possibility. What concerns me is how they pulled it off. An entire land grayed out overnight, the entire populace left in a weakened state. I'm pretty sure he was cursed. I'm pretty sure that his land was, like, cursed at one point, and then he married Nabile, and Nabile broke the curse somehow. I need to reread that plot comic at some point, because I am very fuzzy on some of these details. Queen Fiora says, I believe we are dealing with formidable magic indeed, and likely an adversary who should not be underestimated. And King Altador said, could it be our fallen founder, finally emerging from the shadows after all these years? Wait, Fallen Founder? I'm not familiar with this. Is this like the NeoQuest loop? I don't know. Like, Altador supposedly Altador supposedly was frozen in time for like 1,000 years. So if he's saying something about a founder and it's Altador saying that would theoretically be taking place, I think, like 1,000 years ago, which would have been about the same time that NeoQuest takes place. So I'm like, is it tying into that game somehow? Like, I'm not entirely sure who he's referring to as a founder. Like a fallen founder? Because, yeah, Altador was the one who founded the land of Altador. I'm not really sure what the creation lore about Neopets is. I know that, like, supposedly alien Aishas are not native to the land, and I think there are some, like, space creatures, but I'm not really sure what the founding of Neopia, the planet, essentially, the lore of the site is supposed to be. Like, I know that the site itself was created in 1999, but I don't really know what the, like, in-game lore for how it's supposedly, like, how pets started populating the entirety of the planet is. So, King Hagan says, doubtful. This persistent gray doesn't seem like a magic. Sorry, it doesn't seem like any magic we've seen her use before. What? Don't tell me it's a frickin' fairy. Don't tell me it's a frickin' fairy who supposedly founded the world. Like, when I'm seeing them specifically refer to her, I know that, like, all the fairies in game are supposedly, like, female. Like, all the fairies are female. So I'm like, don't tell me it's another frickin' fairy. Queen Amira says, perhaps the return of another former foe then. Can we be, ooh, tell me it's Dr. Sloth. Tell me Dr. Sloth is going to be involved. Like, Dr. Sloth is just so much fun. I remember I was around for the return of Dr. Sloth plot, the one that has, I know it had the little side bunny with the brown pigtails. I remember that plot, and it had this absolute nightmare awful, like, step where you had to, like, you were trying to, like, break some sort of code with, like, these, I think they were codestone symbols. And it took, like, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I remember, I remember that I was relatively young at that time, and so that task was awful. It was an awful, like, complete and total slog. And I wish that, like, the Neopets team would keep in mind that at least in the past, some of their player base were children. And so if you're going to be doing plots, like, try and make sure that some of the steps, or most of the steps, are actually doable by people who are, like, 10 to 12 years old. And not just by, like, 30-year-old people or people who have, like, way too much time on their hands. Like, they need to make sure that some of these steps are doable for people who might be young and not necessarily have the most patience or the most problem-solving skills, and also to be accessible for, like, people who are older adults with jobs who may have kids. Okay, Amira says, perhaps the return of another former foe then. Can we be absolutely certain Dr. Sloth is still secured within the Space Fairies token? Wait, what? I don't remember. Is that how that plot ended? I don't remember. Queen Fiora, I checked some time ago, and Mira has seen no signs of the not-so-good doctor's return. However, to be safe, she agreed to investigate some of his old haunts across the solar system, just to be sure that none of his followers have set one of his schemes into motion. But Sloth is fun. I mean, he's not a very nice person. Oh, that's King Roo! That's King Roo. He's from Roo Island. He does Dice Roo, I think. Okay, King Roo says that rules him out. Any other guesses? He looks definitely different here. Like, I think the art of King Roo is typically very older art, so this looks very different. Oh, I like how he's kind of like, he kind of looks like he's bouncing when he's breathing. Oh, Darigan! Lord Darigan says, well, I have first-hand experience with malevolent forces that are still roaming Neopia unchecked. So he is, I don't remember, like, I always have trouble keeping Darigan apart from Cass. Okay, King Skarl. Oh my gosh, King Skarl. Okay, so Darigan and Skarl had a war against each other in the early days of Neopia. Again, this is before my time, so I'm mostly getting this information from, like, plot comics that I probably read as a child. Going back and, like, I know there was a period where I went back and, like, read, like, all the old plot comics, and so, like, I'm kind of fuzzy on the details of this, but I know that Darigan and Skarl had a war at one point. And Darigan says, I was referring to the phantasmal calamities that poison the mind of my trusted general. Oh, the general is Cass, right? I think it's Cass. However, if the shoe fits. And Amira says, please, our first step should be determining exactly what we are dealing with. And Emperor Yoon says, I concur. We need more information to better understand what is happening and how to fix it. And I don't know much about Emperor Yoon. I think he goes into the lore of some one of the games on the site, there was this mountain climbing one where you had to like try to get to the top of a mountain with a grappling hook. And I think that he ties into that game because I think it's his daughter who's supposedly the main player in that old Flash game. But I don't know if you can even play that anymore because it was a Flash game. Okay, Altador says, I had the very same thought, which is why I enlisted Altador's resident magic authority to help us shed some light on this matter. Oh, Jordana? Okay, I think she's the Aisha. Jordana will be working closely with Dr. Landel. Okay, Landelbrot is the name of the, I think it's the coincidence. He's the Lutari, right? Okay, with Dr. Landelbrot to investigate the cause of this rift and graying out of Neopians. And that is Jordana, who is one of the founders of Altador. I think one of the 12 founders. Neither Fiora nor myself are familiar with this magic, so we have the library fairy searching through her records to see if anything matches. We could be dealing with ancient sorcery from a long-forgotten age of Neopia. They should ask XANDRA. Like, I'm just saying, XANDRA was a very studious and very, like, wasn't she like an assistant to some sort of library? I don't know. But I remember XANDRA should be knowledgeable about this. They should unpetrify XANDRA and ask her. Okay, Dr. Landelbrot says, or perhaps from an entirely different planet altogether. Ask the alien Aishas. Based on the unusual frequencies of the gravitational waves scintily detected emerging... I'm not entirely sure who that is. Detected emerging from the rift in the sky. Whatever world lies on the other side of that rift operates vastly differently from our own. Why their laws of physics alone might seem paradoxical to us. I mean, that makes sense. Neopets basically, for a long time, it's been very, magic based. And so, obviously physics probably would be different from, our world. I'm wondering, if it's a different world that they're tying into. Is this going to be some... Okay, if this was still owned by Viacom, I'd be like, they're trying to sell us on some other product. I remember, I used to play Pet Pet Park, so I remember that there was some, mini plot that was supposed to get us to play Pet Pet Park. So I'm wondering, is this supposed to be, some sales pitch to get us to buy into some other game? Or are they actually, expanding upon the lore somehow? I don't know. Jordana says, keep in mind these are all just theories. Until we gather enough concrete data, we can't be sure what we're dealing with. Okay. And then Hagan says, I assume you two have a plan in mind for uncovering more details about this enigmatic rift. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Enigmatic, I think, is, mysterious. Jordana says, that we do. Since the rift appeared, Neopians across the globe have reported seeing strange fizzling pieces of an otherworldly substance leaking through the breach, although they seem to dissipate after 24 hours. Oh, confound it. Is this another time-sensitive, 24 hours you have to do this within a certain time period plot event or plot step? I just like when they do those because it's really frustrating because if you accidentally forget a day, it completely screws over my motivation to want to keep doing it. It's very frustrating when they do things that are super time sensitive. Although they seem to dissipate after 24 hours, Dr. Landelbrot here has been working on a specialized container capable of storing these mysterious fragments for an extended period of time so that we can better study them. Okay, Dr. Landelbrot says, indeed, it took some trial and error, but by reinforcing glass with layers of transparent, deep-sea polymers that can withstand incredible pressures, I was able to fabricate a chamber that should keep these energy fragments contained for experimentation. But I don't understand why they need, transparent deep-sea polymers? Okay. What I'm trying to understand is that to say that they use that to get underground into the ocean for extended periods of time, or is that saying that those were harvested from that area? Because I thought technically the idea with Maraqua was that your pets were supposedly wearing magical necklaces that would let them breathe underwater to be able to breathe underwater to be in Maraqua. Jordana says, we've been referring to these fragments as void ascents due to their mysterious nature and murky appearance. However, we will need much more before we can make any real headway on our tests. Fiora says, how much of this void ascent will we need to collect? Dr. Landelbrot says, for an in-depth analysis of such a foreign substance, we will need to accumulate vast amounts of it so that we can properly test it repeatedly under controlled conditions. It's difficult to quantify exactly how much with so many unknown variables. Jordana says, so essentially we're going to need a lot of it. And Queen Amira says, the citizens of Sakhmet have always come together to support each other during times of crisis. Could we ask the public to assist us? And Dr. Landelbrot says, now that is an intriguing idea. The rift does seem to be spewing void essence across all of Neopia, so appealing to the masses may be the most efficient way to collect as much as possible. Yes? King Kelpbeard, if we collect enough, could we use it to create a weapon to defend ourselves? Oh gosh. Appeal to the Battle Dome collectors, why don't ya? King Rue. Or a game to cheer us up. Oh, King Rue is so much fun. Is that where AA and Abigail are supposedly from? I'm not entirely sure because if it was mentioned, I think it was mentioned during the round where they supposedly got kidnapped by Ruthless. So I'm not entirely sure if they're from Rue Island or not, but for some reason I was thinking Abby and AA were supposedly from Rue Island. Queen Fiora says, first and foremost, is it safe? Do we know if this ascent could harm Neopians? Fiora, I mean, that's a logical question, but why are you telling us to be safe? This is Neopets. I'm just saying, like, Neopets can't even die. So, okay, Jordana says, although we can't discern much from the rapidly dissipating void essence the good doctor provided me with, I'm confident that it will not pose a threat to any Neopians. King Hagan says, how can you be certain that we don't need any type of special equipment to handle them? And Jordana's like, because they aren't meant to be in our world. Thus, they can't persist here for long. And Dr. Landelbrot says, precisely, the void ascent seems to be nothing more than runoff, bits of extra energy leaking through whatever the rift is into our world that dissipates soon after arrival. Okay, actually, that sounds like radiation. Maybe that isn't safe, because if they're saying, like, bits of extra energy leaking through, like, that just makes me think of, like, radioactive stuff, and then that dissipate soon after arrival, because radiation, I think, typically becomes less dangerous the more that it's like been exposed to the environment. Like I think of like Hiroshima as being like, I've been to Hiroshima and it's like, I think of it as being a safe place to visit now, even though it was like not a good place to be during the like during World War II. So like this just makes me think of radiation. Jordana, dissolving fast as snowflakes in Moltara. Oh, that would be fast, though. Dr. Landelbrot, which is why we needed the void essence container. The particles need a vessel to keep them tied to Neopia. Jornada says, so even if these particles were somehow harmful, they and any magic with them is dissolving faster than they could affect any Neopians. Additionally, I will use shielding enchantments to ensure Dr. Landelbrot is able to experiment on them under safe conditions. Okay. And then it says ... moment of reflective silence. And King Altador says, your meticulous efforts are appreciated, Jordana, as are yours, Dr. Landelbrot. It seems your explanations have quelled our fears. King Skarl, humph! So now that the experts are focused on the hole in the sky, who's going to get this gray off of me? Poor little Skarl. Queen Fiora, worry not, King Skarl. I've already sent for some help with our color conundrum. I suspect we will need some fresh faces to rise to the challenge. Oh dear, is this going to be a tie into some, I don't know, I'm always afraid that this is going to be like a tie into some product placement. What's the word? Immersive advertisement or something. Oh, now this has a pop-up that says, Void Essence Collection. Hello, Neopians. If I could please pry you away from your busy lives, but for a moment, there's a vital scientific inquiry underway that requires your assistance. With your help, we could have the means to better understand this puzzling rift threatening to tear our sky asunder. I only ask that you collect samples of the harmless detritus? I'm not entirely sure how I'm actually supposed to pronounce that word in real life, because I pretty much only ever see it written. Sleeping from this fracture, which we've designated as the void essence, wherever you can find them across Neopia, based on the rate and trajectory that the rift is leaking residual energy. Multiple conglomerations of void essence should appear across the same group of Neopian lands each day. Bring me enough samples with each week, and I shall have Scintily, here, who is Scintily? Here reward you with 5 plot points that can be spent on any number of unusual items we found tumbling through the rift. I want the Grapes of Wrath, please. As an additional token of appreciation for your efforts, we will also grant you a special prize from the eclectic collection Scintily has amassed over years of oddities pouring through our portal. One final point on the matter. Be sure to check all over Neopia if void essence seems scarce in the same land as time passes. Conglomerations of void essence may be trickling into entirely new sets of lands as the rift expands over time. I'm going to check Jelly Neo before I actually start doing this. So I want to go back to here. Okay, collect void essences across the map to help Dr. Landelbrot and Jordana investigate the rift in the sky. Oh, they have all the little leaders around the table. We've got Amira, we've got Kelpbeard, we've got Darigan, Skarl, King. I love the way King Altador is like facing. Like he's not looking straight ahead. He's like twiddling his fingers and looking to the side. And I love that. It just has a very three-dimensional, like, it presents a strong tableau. Like even though they're all like frozen here, they are essentially, they have movement to them. It's, how do I describe it? It's the focus makes it seem like they're existing there, like they're not just frozen. Like I love it. It adds to the drama. And then there's Hagan looking at the map. He looks all sad. He's looking at the map. Poor little Skarl. Okay, Hagan's looking there. I think Hagan and Skarl traditionally have like some sort of feud, or at least they did it. I think that was the premise of Biscuit Brigade, right? And then Nabile's looking in thought, and then no, is she actually looking in thought at the map, or is she looking at Jazan? And Jazan's kind of looking at, I think, Altador. Yeah, and then Amira and Kelpbeard are looking at the same thing. Queen Fiora will need some time to collect more void essence for Dr. Landelbrot's experiments. Return soon. Okay, I need to apparently find these. Okay, it's probably gonna be Meridell. I don't know. Oh wow, yeah, I see this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there any at the castle? I don't know. I'm gonna go back to the Void Within plot page. So I've got 4 of 10. I will probably check like Jelly New to see how to get the rest. But yeah, thank you so much for watching me kind of like react to today's update, the 27th day of Relaxing Year 26 of the Void Within like plot comic. I think it's really cool to see all the little leaders there. I do think it's interesting though that there are quite a lot of lands that are not ruled by leaders. Like my pets theoretically reside on Mystery Island because that's where my Neo home is, and Mystery Island doesn't really have a leader. I like that. And Neopia Central, the land of Neopia Central, doesn't seem to have a leader either. Like it's never really mentioned. Neopia Central also doesn't have like an Altador team though, so I don't know. It's cool seeing like all of these older leaders kind of just like coming together, all these old plot characters, like seeing them all together again. I really like that. But it is also interesting to see like who is not represented here. Like they don't have anyone from the Council of Elders in Tyrania. So yeah, thank you so much for checking out this like little reaction video, and I hope you have a wonderful fun time playing Neopets. Bye.